An attacked estate could become somebody else's farm, making the boundary between Viking raider and Norse settler painfully consequential. For displaced communities, the distinction appeared through lost property, new neighbors, changed law, tribute, or continuing violence. Yet no reliable test divided two permanent Scandinavian types before they sailed. Raider and settler describe activities and outcomes, not separate peoples with fixed identities. The clearest separation emerged through commitment to land, household, production, and local political relationships. Even then, one person could cross the boundary, while another expedition might include both intentions from departure. Written records usually notice the transformation only after its consequences become politically important. English annals report attacks, winter camps, campaigns, agreements, and eventually the division or occupation of land. They rarely identify every crew member's earlier occupation or private plan. Archaeology finds buildings, field systems, graves, tools, and imported objects, but intentions do not fossilize. The answer must therefore follow behavior over time rather than search for a distinctive settler's weapon. Raiding organized mobility around taking portable wealth through threat or attack. Targets could yield silver, livestock, provisions, captives, equipment, or payments made to prevent further violence. Speed and intelligence mattered because defenders learned, fortified, negotiated, and retaliated. Crews required ships suited to their route, supplies for the voyage, and agreements about leadership and returns. A camp might support one season's operations without becoming a self-sustaining colony. Wintering increased duration, yet winter quarters alone do not prove that everyone intended to remain. Large armies in 9th century England occupied strategic places for extended campaigning. The Anglo-Saxon chronicle distinguishes movement, overwintering, tribute, battle, and land settlement through changing entries. In 876, part of the army associated with Halfdan shared out land in Northumbria, according to the Chronicle. That notice marks a political outcome, although it cannot supply a complete list of incoming households. Land demanded a different calendar and set of responsibilities from raiding. Seed, pasture, stored fodder, boundaries, buildings, livestock, and labor tied survival to seasons beyond one campaign. Property also required recognition, whether gained through conquest, agreement, marriage, purchase, patronage, or contested occupation. Those pathways differed morally and legally, and sources seldom reveal them equally. A settler needed relationships with local populations who already understood soils, routes, rights, and regional power. Conflict could continue, but permanent life could not be sustained by battlefield skill alone. Household composition provides another clue without offering a universal formula. Migration involving women, children, dependents, craftspeople, and unfree labor created possibilities for reproduction and long occupation. Male war bands could also attract or form households after arrival, leaving origins difficult to reconstruct. Objects associated with Scandinavian practices sometimes identify cultural connections, not the exact birthplace of every owner. Burial customs may change rapidly when migrants join local communities or adopt Christianity. Language leaves broader traces through personal names, loanwords, and place names recorded in later documents. Names ending in by or thorpe contribute to evidence for Scandinavian settlement in parts of England. Their later written forms require linguistic analysis rather than literal use as contemporary signposts. Settlement archaeology is often less theatrical than chronicles because ordinary rural sites leave modest and ambiguous remains. A repaired tool can reveal longer residence more effectively than an ornate sword. Spindle whorls, loom weights, querns, animal bones, and field boundaries show production intended to continue. None of those objects belonged exclusively to Scandinavians, so context and assemblage matter. It dresses the raider in weapons and the settler in farm clothes, as if costume exposed intention. Actual people reused equipment, traded possessions, and changed work when conditions changed. A spear could travel into settlement, while a plowman could join a later armed expedition. Opportunity, obligation, defeat, kinship, and political command might redirect a life several times. Status shaped every option because leaders, free followers, dependents, and captives did not choose equally. Some migrants received land after military service, while enslaved people could be transported and forced into new households. Calling both groups settlers without naming coercion would hide radically different experiences. Ireland demonstrates another route from seasonal attack toward rooted power. 9th century fleets used defended ship bases, including long forts, that supported campaigning and control of waterways. Some bases contributed to enduring urban centers, with Dublin becoming a major port and political hub. The development was not a smooth promotion from raider camp to peaceful town. Warfare, kingship, trade, enslavement, craft production, expulsion, and return all shaped Dublin's Scandinavian connections. Residents interacted with Irish rulers and communities through alliance and conflict rather than remaining an isolated foreign garrison. Coins, workshops, burials, buildings, and texts illuminate different phases, never one founding intention shared by all. At Dublin, commerce could stabilize occupation, while wealth also supported armed power. Roles overlapped within a port, whose survival depended upon negotiation, production, and access to surrounding resources. Across the North Atlantic, settlement could occur without a preceding local raid documented in the same way. Norse migration to Iceland created farms, assemblies, and regional communities across a landscape already visited by people. Later Icelandic writings preserve settlement traditions, but their narratives were composed after the initial migrations. Archaeology dates occupation and reconstructs environmental change without verifying every family story. Clearing, grazing, fuel use, and erosion record commitment to land along with its ecological costs. In Greenland, Norse settlers built farms where pastoral production depended upon a demanding subarctic schedule. Their western and eastern settlement regions remained connected to Atlantic travel, trade, and Christian institutions. Calling those inhabitants Vikings throughout their lives obscures generations born into local Norse communities. Distance from Scandinavia did not trap them permanently inside an expedition label. The contrast becomes sharper when movement fails to establish durable occupation. Lance Ox Meadows, Norse buildings, ironworking, and ship repair debris document a base around the year 1000. The site proves presence and organized work on Newfoundland's northern peninsula. Its limited occupation does not resemble the multi-generational farm landscapes of Iceland or Greenland. Archaeology cannot identify the camp securely with one named saga expedition. Later Vinland narratives suggest wider ventures, while their event sequences remain difficult to map onto the site. Long before Norse arrival, indigenous societies had lived throughout the Americas for thousands of years. Whatever ambitions brought the camp's occupants, no lasting Norse regional society developed there. This limit reveals that arriving with buildings did not automatically make settlement permanent. Sustained colonization required replenishment, social continuity, resource access, and workable political relations beyond initial construction. Return voyages remained essential, particularly where settlers depended upon goods unavailable locally. A community can count as settlement even if war, environment, economy, or migration later ends it. Duration matters because it reveals reproduced social life rather than a single operational season. Legal integration supplies an equally important measure of enduring settlement. Settlers entered systems of taxation, inheritance, assembly, lordship, religion, and landholding that transformed both newcomers and hosts. In England, Scandinavian-linked populations eventually participated in Christian kingdoms rather than preserving an autonomous Viking identity. Place names and vocabulary outlasted many political differences that had once marked conquest. In Ireland, Norse-founded towns became embedded within regional competition and maritime commerce. Across Atlantic islands, new law communities developed under conditions unlike those of the homelands. These outcomes separate settlement from a raid more firmly than any artifact type. Still, recovered history cannot assign every individual to one side. A person killed during an attack may never have faced the choice to remain. Another participant could settle after defeat, marriage, reward, or opportunity undocumented by surviving sources. Families joining later migrations might have no raiding experience at all. Local people could enter Scandinavian households, towns, armies, and trading networks without becoming ethnically transformed by definition. The categories are useful only when they follow actions at a particular time. Raiding sought movable returns without requiring local reproduction of community. Settlement invested labor and relationships in continued residence, whether arrival was peaceful, negotiated, coercive, or violent. Between them lay camps, tribute zones, garrisons, trading quarters, seasonal stations, and failed colonies. Those intermediate forms explain why no single departure scene can reveal what a voyage will become. The historical boundary appears gradually in accumulated commitments rather than at the shoreline. Its route can be followed from a raided English coast to winter quarters and divided Northumbrian land. It continues through Dublin's defended harbour into streets where households and workshops endured. Across Iceland and Greenland, farm ruins carried the distinction into generations who never joined the initiating voyage. At Newfoundland, the route reaches its documented limit in a base that did not become a lasting Norse settlement. What separated raider from settler was not ancestry or courage, but the sustained work of making contested arrival into lived-in land.